Hello and welcome to Saturday's edition of Cracking the Cryptic. Now, first things first, please take a look at last night's incredible puzzle by Jesper. If you've not seen it yet, the opening logic is so beautiful you will remember it for a very long time. So I just urge everyone to give that puzzle the time of day. It really will gladden your hearts. Now, today's puzzle may not gladden my heart. It's another puzzle by TotallyNormalCat, and I remember this name well from a couple of weekends ago because that was the day on which I tried my first puzzle by TotallyNormalCat, and it proved to be exceptionally difficult, proving that the pseudonym was utterly Roggen. I'm going to call him utterly weird Caracal instead of Totally Normal Cat, because that seems to me to be far more appropriate. There, I've said it. Now, the puzzle's name is Lake Trip, which is another sort of prosaic title. I have no idea how a congregation of thermometer clues, arrow clues, and killer Sudoku clues can generate the title Lake Trip, but I guess we'll find out. Yeah, I'll read the rules in just a second. Before I do that, do have a look at what we've got going on over on Patreon at the moment. We've got all sorts of stuff, loads of extra videos, loads of extra puzzles. We've got Reverend's Puzzle Hunt. The solution to that has just been published. And of course, in just 2 days' time, we are releasing a brand new Sudoku puzzle hunt on the first of March over on Patreon. There will be a brand new Sudoku puzzle hunt. Definitely check it out. You will not regret it. Now, what are the rules of Utterly Weird Caracal's puzzle? Let me read them to you. Normal Sudoku rules apply. In cages, digits must sum to the small clue in the top left corner of the cage, and digits cannot repeat within a cage. Okay, that's pretty self-explanatory. Digits along an arrow must sum to the digit in that arrow's circled cell. So normal arrow rules. Let's just remind you, if you've never seen arrows, what that means. Let's imagine these two squares were 1 and 4. That would mean you would have to put 5 in there, because 1 plus 4 equals 5. A knowledge bomb from Cracking the Cryptic. Now, along thermometers, digits must increase from the bulb end. So, again, very standard rules. If this square was a 2, this cell would have to be higher than 2, but it doesn't have to be 3. It could be, I don't know, let's make that one 5. And then this one, again, it just has to keep increasing as if it was mercury rising up the thermometer. So that could be an 8. And this thermometer would be completely fine. So do have a go. The way to play is to click the link under the video as usual. Now I get to play. Let's get cracking. Okay. So, as so often recently, I am struck as I stare at this how little information there is. There really is an incredibly sparse amount of stuff. I mean, these cages sum to, what's that, 26, which means those 3 squares. Yeah, I can impart my secret upon you. A complete column of a Sudoku. Well, that must contain all of the digits from 1 to 9 once each. If you add up the digits from 1 to 9, you get 45. So if those 6 cells there sum to 26, these cells sum to 19, which is, I mean, it's a high-ish total. It's averaging over 6, but it's not high enough that it's anything like a restriction. Okay, so looks like the arrows must be where we start, I think. And each individual arrow is not helpful, but the thing I'm drawn to is that there are 6 arrow cells emanating from these 3 digits, which are in the same column, these 3 circles. So we know these are all different numbers, and we know, because all of these cells are in the same column, these must be different. So the minimum we could put into these cells would be something like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6, which is, if we add those up, we get 21. So we know these circles here add up to at least 21, and they can't be higher than 24, because the maximum I could make those 3 squares would be 7, 8, and 9. So these cells add up to no less than 21, and So they add up to 21, 22, 23 or 24. What's this 6 doing in the grid? Why is that there? That is really strange as well. So, okay. Anyone got any good ideas? Okay, well, I tell you one digit I can't... yeah, hang on. I have an idea. One digit that I definitely can't put on a 2-cell arrow is a 9. A 9, all of a sudden, looks interesting to me. Because look, in column 2, where... Yeah, look, there's a swordfish. There's a sword... Oh, that might be why it's called Lake Trip. Although you don't get swordfishes in lakes, so I'm not sure. But... Look, we've got these 3 squares are the only cells in column 2 that can contain a 9. Because if we put a 9 on an arrow, once we accompany it with any digit, this square will be a double-digit number, and that won't work. Now, in this column, finally it's occurred to me, look, that these cages cannot contain a 9. Not even that one. That would have to be a 9 and a 0, which won't work. So the 9 is in one of those 3 squares. Now, the thermometer column. You can never put a 9 anywhere on a thermometer except at the far end away from the bulb. Now, so in this column, the 9 is locked into the same positions, the same rows as in column 2 and column 5. And this is an absolutely classic swordfish. Now, if you've not come across a swordfish before, you may be confused about why I'm excited about this, but basically what it's going to allow me to do is to eliminate 9 from all of these cells. None of those green cells can contain a 9 now in this puzzle. And the reason is very simple. Let's think about how many 9s there are going to be in total in row 3, row 6 and row 9 in this puzzle. And this is not a trick question, but it's very important in order to understand why a swordfish in the columns affects the rows. There's going to be 1 9 in row 3, only 1. There's going to be exactly 1 9 in row 6, and there's going to be exactly 1 9 in row 9. So that means there are 3 9s that we need to be positioned somehow in these 3 rows. But we know in column 2, in column 5 and column 8, the 3 9s that appear in those columns can only appear in those 3 rows. So if we try to put a 9 here, for example, that would be saying that we're putting a 4th 9 in these 3 rows of the Sudoku, which is complete cobblers. You can't do that. We know that between them, these purple cells have to contain exactly 3 9s, and that's exactly the number we need for the 3 rows of the Sudoku. So we can say with absolute certainty the green cells don't have 9s in them. And that feels like it must be the break-in that Utterly Weird Caracal has built into his puzzle. Now, why? So, I mean, oh, yes, of course. Oh, that is beautiful. Right. These 3 squares, we know, had to sum up to a minimum of 21. Because of these cells in the columns. Now, they can't add up to more than 21 because none of these circled cells can be a 9. So the maximum I can make these 3 squares now is 6, 7 and 8, and 6, 7 and 8 add up to 21. That is absolutely beautiful. That really is lovely logic. I'm suddenly getting quite excited about this puzzle. when the testers told me that this is what they were recommending for today, I was a little bit nervous about how I'd get on with it. Right, so what does that mean? Don't know, not sure. These squares now, though, we now know have to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and 6. So let's put that in. That one can't be 6 because of the 6 that we've been given strangely in the grid. These squares now have got to be 7, 8 and 9 to complete column 2. Okay, now what does that mean? So we've got the 9 swordfish on 9s gets rid of a 9 from these squares. Gets rid of a 9 from the the far end of these thermometers. So these cells cannot be greater than 8, which means, oh, I see what it means. Golly gosh, okay, this is absolutely gorgeous again. Right. We now, I think, have to focus on these 3 squares. Because these 3 squares we know cannot be 9s anymore. So the maximum I can put into these squares is 8. But if the maximum I can put into these squares is 8, and it is, what's the maximum I can put into these squares? Well, it's a digit that's less than 8. Because the most I can put on any of these squares is 8. Now, if all of these squares are less than 8, where do I put the 8s in column 8 of the grid? And the answer is only in those squares. Now, why does that matter? Well, now I've got another swordfish, but this time on 8s, not 9s. There must be an 8 in one of those squares because it's a 6, 7, 8 triple. There must be an 8 in one of these squares because it's a 7, 8, 9 triple. And because of this strange arrangement of thermometers, the 8s in column 8 are forced into one of these 3 squares. We've had 2 days in a row now of just extraordinary logic at the opening of these puzzles. Now, what does that mean then? Well, I tell you one thing it means. If, in fact, yeah, this. Maybe I should switch the swordfish around now, just to be very clear. These purple squares are a bit misleading now, because the places that 8s can't go are now these green squares. So we can't put. We can't put 8. So now these squares now can't even be 8, in fact. So their maximum value is now 7, which means the maximum value on these thermometers is now 6. But you can't put 6 on them because of the given 6. So these squares have to be a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 quintuple, I think. That seems madness. Hang on, let me just think about this. So you definitely can't put 9 in here because of the swordfish on 9s. And then because the maximum in theory I could have put in these cells was 8, that locks 8 out of all the thermometer cells, which pushes 8 into these positions in the columns, which creates a swordfish of 8s, which actually removes the possibility of 8 in these positions, which means these have a maximum of 7, which means these have a maximum of 6, and they can't be 6, so they must only be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I think it's correct. So that means these squares now are a 7, 8, 9. Triple. And now, of course, I don't believe this. This is absolutely this is incredible. This is incredible. Now I've got a swordfish on 7s. Again in the purples, which means these can't be 7s. So these now have a maximum value of 6, which actually is interesting. That doesn't affect the thermometers though, because I'd already ruled out the possibility of 6 in these cells from the given 6. So I'm not sure. There certainly is a swordfish on 7s, but I'm not sure how to use it. So now oh, I see. Now I turn my attention to this column. I have to say, to give Utterly Weird Caracal credit, this is an absolutely brilliant puzzle. I am enjoying this very much indeed, because now the swordfishes on the 7s and the 8s, which actually they coincide. It's what's in the purple squares now, means you can't put 7 or 8 in those cells. So where shall I put? Well, I can see that 8's got to go. Right, so I was about to say that the 7s and the 8s have to go in the cages here, but it's better than that. Because the 8 can't go in the 8 cage because it would have to have a 0 with it. So the 8 is in one of these cages where it is accompanied by a 1. Once it's accompanied by a 1, you can't put the 7 in this cage either, because the 1 has disappeared in one of the 9 cages. So these two cages contain a 1-8 pair, and because they contain, one of them contains a 7, they contain a 2-7 pair. And that means the 8 cage is 3-5 because it can't have 1 or 2 in it. Which means those squares are now known. They're 4, 6 and 9. Now, I've just noticed I still haven't placed a digit. Can I place a digit yet? This square's got to be a 7, 8 or a 9. This arrow looks a bit suspicious, doesn't it? I'm not sure if we can rule out. Can we rule out 4 from this square? If that would be a 1. Oh no, it doesn't actually have to. I was about to say it would have to be a 1-3 pair, but it doesn't have to be. It could be double 2. I don't think that breaks. I don't think that breaks the rules. This digit and this digit are the same. Oh, I've got these thermometers to think about. So I've actually got to be careful with these thermometers, because this square cannot be 7, 8 or 9 because of the swordfishes. It can't be 6. This square has a maximum value of 5, so that can't be 5. But I guess this could be a 1, and that could be a 2. I'm not sure about that. I can't see why that's incorrect. Is that... I'm not sure. This one can't be 5, because that one can't be greater than 5. So this can't be 1 because it's partially along a thermometer, so we can do that to both of those thermometers. This square could be, it can't be 7, 8, 9, but it could be 6. So 6, 5, 4, 3, I think. this one must be the same. 3, 4, 5, 6. Right, and here's something else as well. Oh, in fact, I don't believe it. I don't believe it. This is one of the great puzzles, full stop. This is one of the great puzzles. Because now there is a swordfish on 6s. There is a swordfish on 6s. Let's remove these squares. Because we know there's a 6 in one of these 3. Now from column 5, I know there's a 6 in one of those 3. But let's think about the logic on column 8. Where is, we know that the 5 in column 8 has to be on a thermometer. It has to be. And we know that the end of that thermometer where the 5 is cannot be a 7, 8 or 9. So it must be a 6. So, in fact, this one's not, that one can't be. But the 6 must be in one of those 2 squares. So the logic, the swordfish logic, is absolutely consistent. We know that the 6s in these 3 columns must be disposed between exactly these 3 rows. Therefore, there can be no more 6s in these rows, or you'd have a 4th 6 in 3 rows of the Sudoku. This is why it's called Lake Trip or whatever it was, because in I'm just going to call him TotallyNormalCat now. I think he deserves it. But Lake Trip is because we keep having to visit swordfishes. We keep having to find swordfishes. I don't think you get many swordfishes in lakes, but I think we can forgive that. So, yeah. So now this. Oh no, this is. Hang on. What are we doing then? If we've got a swordfish on 6s, what is that actually giving us? Because it's not getting rid of the 6s here. It's not tidying up the 6s here. Is it doing nothing? Maybe that's. Oh, I suppose what we can say. Yeah, okay. Let's focus in instead on the cells we've not pencil marked in row 3, 6 and 9. These cells. These cells have got to be. Yeah, because now we know these cells are not 6. They're not 7 because of the swordfish on 7s, which is not in these highlighted cells. They're not 8 because of the swordfish on 8. And they're not 9 because of the swordfish on 9. So these squares are 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5. And we can definitely do some tidying up here because, well, for example, that square can never be a 1 because it's on the end of a thermometer. So this square is 1, 2, 3 or 4. Same must be true of this one. So this is 1, 2, 3 or 4. In row 3 of the grid, look at those squares. That is a quintuple on 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5. So that's not 4. So this arrow is now adding up to 6 or 9. So this square. Oh, this square can be just about, well, it can be a lot. It could actually perhaps be everything. I think it could be everything. Okay, I'm not penciling that. Yeah, I mean, it can't be 9. That's the only thing it can't be. So, sorry, that's not where we should be looking. 2, 3. Yes. Look, this 9 cage definitely has a 1 or a 2 in it. And therefore, there is a virtual quintuple in this box. So there's a 1. These squares have got to be selected from 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5. There's definitely a 1 or a 2 in this one. So no other cell in this box can be 1, 2, 3, 4 or 5, so that one can't be 4. Which doesn't quite resolve anything. Don't think it does anyway. Oh, no, hang on, I've got a 6, 9 pair in this column. I've got a digit. Right, where's 4 go in column 5 of the grid? Only there. This is a 4. Now that's going to allow me, look, to tidy 4s away from any number of cells, and that one. Okay. This square is the same as this square. So this square's got to be 1, 2, 3, 4 or 5. Now that is almost good enough. Bobbins. Okay, goodness me, this is tricky. This has suddenly become quite tricky. What is it that we've got to think about to get this sorted out? I don't know. So that's really, actually that's pretty baffling. I'm almost wondering whether I have to colour the grid in terms of high and low digits in order to try and get some sort of a grasp on what's going on. See, rows like this, there's an awful lot of low stuff in this row already. We've got, ooh, sorry, I suppose I've got a 3, 5 pair there. That gets rid of 3 and 5 in this square. That creates a 1, 2 pair in row 6. Oh, maybe this is going to help. Yeah, look, 3, 5 pair there. That's a 6. Gosh. That's, in fact, that's the 6 we were looking for. Which gets rid of a 6 here. So we now know where the 6 goes. In this can't be 5 anymore, look now, because this can't be 6. We can't have a 5 here, which means we can't have a 4 here. And that's reducing all of the stuff in this row. Ah, yes, yes, yes. I know what we can do. Where does the 5 now live in column 8? We've already thought about this logic. I just hadn't put it together again at this point. But, in fact, I can just see I can highlight 6s in one of those 2 squares as well. But where does the 5 go? We know the 5 needs to be accompanying the 6 on its thermometer. In fact, my pencil marks are now giving me this anyway. This has to be the 5, because if this had been the 5, that would have needed to be a 6, because it couldn't have been a 7, 8 or a 9. So this is 5. Actually, that's giving us a 3 and a 5 here, and no 3s in any of those squares or this one. This square now has to be lower than 3, so that can only be 3 or 4. There's a 1, 2 pair here now. That can't be 5, I've just noticed. Right, this square is a mirror of this square. So this square is 1, 2 or 4. Therefore it's 4 because there's a 1, 2 pair looking at it. 4 is not here. It's funny, it's a weird, it's now become incredibly important to keep very careful track of every digit. This 4 is obviously forcing that to be a 4, which takes the 4 out of this cell. Takes the 4 out of this cell. This is a 1, 2 pair, so that can't be 1 or 2. Ah, beautiful. Let's look at this box. I know that one of these squares is a 1 or a 2, and that's a 1 or a 2. So nothing else in this box can contain a 1 or a 2. So 1 and 2 can come out of all of those. That might matter. Yeah, it does a little bit, because now where does 5 go in this box? It's got to go in one of those two cells. So 5 comes out of that square, which means 4 comes out of this square, and which means 3 comes out of this square, which gives us a 1-2 pair in row 7. So this is not 1 or 2. This is not 1 or 2. The 9 cage has a high and a low digit in it. This must be its low digit if this is its high digit. That gives us a 1-2 pair there. This is not 5, there's a 5 looking at it. 1-2 pair. Ah, yeah, look, there's a 1-2 pair here. So this square must be 3, this must be 4. This 4, I can see it's going to do damage in this box, but I'm just going to check about the 3s and what that does up here, look. 2, 5. I'm not seeing anything better. I'm going to look at the 4. The 4 gets rid of this square. So this is a 3-5 pair, which means that's a 4. Which means this is not a 4. This is not a 5 because of this 5. This is not a 5. Gosh, there's so much I'm missing here. I'm so sorry. This is not 4. This is not 5. Golly gosh. Okay, this 5, I don't know when I got that, but I can see that's resolving this 5-3 now. So 5 and 3 go in. Get rid of 5 from this square. Get rid of 3 from this square. Okay, and now what do we do? That's the question. We have got I don't know what to do. Come on, Simon. There must be something we can do here. This 3 is not... It must be one of the things I've sort of not... Well, it's either Sudoku. Actually, that's probably the thing it is, isn't it? That, because I'm just seeing that can't be 3 or 4. Oh, good grief, sorry. So it's either Sudoku. I've got a 1-2 pair in this column. Yeah, it's more Sudoku I'm not doing. This square's a 5 now. 5 is not here. 5 is not here. 1, 2, 3 triple in this row. 1s and 2s all over the shop here. Well, at least in some positions, isn't there? There are actually a lot of 1-2s. That one. So there's 1s and 2s everywhere. We don't yet know what the sort of breakdown of these 9 cages is. 1's 2, 7, 1's 1, 8. I don't think I know which way round they go. 5 can... We've got these pencil marked in the centre, so I'm just going to tidy up that centre. This is a 7 or an 8. So... I can still use 3, 4 here to get to 7. I was about... Oh, I can do 6, 1 as well, actually. Or 2, 6 to get to 8. 4 can't be here. Oh no, I'm grinding to a bit of a halt here. Okay, so how do we get going again on this? One of these has got to be a 6. the 6 will either be 2, 4 or 1, 5. This is not 6, so if this was... well, that can still be 2, 4 or 1, 5. And 2, 4 and 1, 5, the impact they have on whichever one of these has to be a 7 is that they reduce it to one option. So if it's 2, 4, that's got to go with 1, 6. If it's 1, 5, it has to go with 3, 4. But both ways round, you still get left with an option for the 8, so that's no use. Right, okay. Is there something about the swordfishes I need to revisit here? There's a 5 in one of those squares. So this domino here is a 5, 6 domino. So that means in this column, I've basically approximately placed 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. These squares are a 7, 8, 9 triple. That means we've got a 7, 8, 9 triple in box 3. These squares have got to be 1, 2, and 3 as a triple. 6, 1, 2, 3. This is a 7, 8, or a 9. This domino, bobbins! This domino is, one of them is a 1 or a 2, one of them is a 7, 8 or a 9. That's not what I was hoping for. Oh dear. This arrow, I've not actually... yeah, this square's suddenly become a bit more restricted, I think, than when I last looked at it. So if this is 6, this has to be 5, 4 or 3. If this is 9, oh dear, it's still got so many options. It really does. That can't be 4 or 5. That can't be 4 or 5. Just by Sudoku. I'm not doing anything clever there. But 1 could still go with 8. 4 coming out of here. Does that reduce the possibility? No, because 2 could still go with 7. Oh, no. Right, this square, 3, 6, 7 or 8. I'm baffled. What am I missing here? I'm so sorry if it's obvious what it is. It probably is. That's the normal state of affairs. It's got to be a 3 in one of those cells. I tell you what would be interesting, and that's if those two cells are not the same. That would see that square. Let's check that. I'm just going to colour in the 1s and the 2s. 1, 2. So that means this one is the same colour as this one, which is the same. Right, okay, let's do this carefully. This one and this one are different. So I will make this one blue. That makes this one red, which makes this one blue, which makes this one red. This one's red because it's in the column with a blue. This one's... yes, perfect, perfect, got it. Right, so the 1s and the 2s, this one's blue and this one's red. They are different. So they both look at this square. Doesn't matter whether this is a 1 or a 2. This one will be the opposite value. They'll both see this square, which cannot therefore be a 1 or 2, and is a 3. And that may get us unstuck again. Let's hope so. This 3 sees this square. 3 and 5 go into the grid. 5 must be up here by Sudoku. 3... problem with 3 here, you know, is it doesn't tell us what this square is. Because if this is 6, that could still be 3. So this comes down to being, it can't be 7 or 8. This is either 6 or 3. But it could be either. Double 3 would put a 3 here, which seems to be possible. If it's a 6 here... oh, no, no, no. It can't be 6. That is lovely. It can't be 6. If this is a 6, where does the 6 go in box 2? by Sudoku, it's got to go in the circle. But that would be saying that 6 is equal to 3 plus 6, which it isn't. There is a knowledge bomb for you. That is absolutely lovely. So this square, this arrow is a double 3 arrow. That's a 3 up there. There's no 3 on this stuff anymore. This arrow is now adding up to 6. Which means that's not a 6. The 7, 8 pair in column 1 means this is a 6. This is a 9. We can remove 6 as an option from these two squares because you can't make... Oh, no, you can do better than that. Look, this arrow adds up to 6. Now, there's no way this can be a 3 then, because it will require a repeated 3 in the column. So this is 5, this is 1, this is 2. Oh, that's going to go... Yeah, now look, that goes through all of... So we now know blues are 1 and reds are 2s. That must be 1. I didn't actually colour in all of the 1s and the 2s. Perhaps I should do that, but I won't do it yet. There's no 1 in here. There's no 1 in here. The 9 cage is now done. That's got to be a 7, which means we know at the top there we're looking for a 1-8 combination. 5 has got to come out of both of those positions. Ah, and that's enough. That's enough to get this arrow done, because now we can't make this two even numbers add up to an odd number. So this must be an even number. It's 8, that's 7. This must be 6 and 2. This doesn't actually seem to get us anything. Oh, that's a 1, look, just by Sudoku. I'd not seen that. This one must be done. That's a 1. Okay, and this is adding up to 7, which is going to need an odd number, which means that's a 3. So that's a 4. Strangely, that doesn't actually seem to do a great deal. It does get rid of 7s, obviously, from those two squares. 8 comes out of this square and this square. Oh, I see. And now this is what this 1 cell arrow is doing, because now this square has to be a 7 or a 9, and it can't be a 7, so that's a 9. That's going to finish off all these 7s, 8s and 9s, isn't it? This puzzle, it's absolutely world class. There isn't a constructor alive who wouldn't be proud of this puzzle. Really fabulous. This 5 is seeing this square, so this is 6, this is 5. These two squares now have got to be 3 and 8, so we now know the order. That means those two squares have got to be 4 and 9, and that 9 there is going to be helpful in that regard. That's a 4 by Sudoku. This box needs 5 and 7. There's a 7 here. That's a 5 by Sudoku. This box needs 1, 2 and 6. Yeah, we can do that. That must be 6. That's 1, that's 2. We've done all the 1s now? No. This one up here gives us those. That can't be 7. Neither can this. And this one has to be, therefore, 9. 9 and 8 go in. 9 goes here. This box needs 2 and 7, which we can do. I've done all the 2s now. I haven't. I still haven't. But I can, because this square must be a 2. This is a 7, 8 pair, of course. 8 and 7 go in. 2. Oh no, Simon, have you just made a boo-boo? You have. That must be fairly late, isn't it? Oh, what have I done there? Oh no, I've not got a 2 in this row. Is it that 2 I've just put in? Please to be that 2 I've just put in. Did I double click this and then somehow put it in the wrong... I did, I just put it in the wrong square. Oh, thank goodness for that. I mean, it's still a silly error to make, but it's a much less catastrophic one. Oh, good grief. 6 and 7. 7 and 6 go in. Totally discombobulated now. 8 goes here, 9 goes here. The puzzle's finished. I will just click tick. It is correct. Beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. Now I will make all of the ones the same colour. So the ones all need to be blue. And now I will make all of the twos the same colour. Oh, will it let me do that? It should do, I think. Yeah, like that. There we go. Now all the twos are the same colour. Get rid of all the greens. We don't need those. Get rid of all the purples. We don't need those. And there, it's a magnificent puzzle. Absolutely magnificent. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Let me know in the comments. That's 2 days in a row that we have done quite exceptionally memorable puzzles. And gosh, it's a purple period for Sudoku in general. Thanks for watching. Back later with another edition of Cracking the Cryptic.